The Johannesburg War Museum has undergone a vast amount of changes over the years, and the modern facilities they've got today are excellent. This is the Second World War Aircraft Hall, the Focke-Wulf 190, and this remarkable Messersmith Me-109, which was actually shot down over Britain during the Battle of Britain in 1940. It was one of the very first exhibits that was donated to this museum many, many years ago. This is the tail of the Focke-Wulf 190. It's a much bigger aircraft when you see it in here than when you see it in pictures. Just in case. You can see the machine gun in the wing here, and then the pod with a cannon under the wing. This is one of the very few jets that actually saw service in the Second World War. It's a Messersmith 262 twin jet fighter. The peculiar array of whiskers on the front is for radar for night fighting, finding aircraft in the dark. It was pretty primitive in those days. And this aircraft is a two-seater. They used two 37mm Maxim Nordenfeldt guns, were actually German-made, although the design was British. These were used by the German forces in Southwest Africa in the First World War and surrendered to General Louis Botha's forces. These guns were fed with belts of 25 cartridges, and the firing of them caused more consternation with the troops on the ground than the actual damage that the shells did. However, these two were made in 1903 and surrendered in 1914. In beautiful condition here. This is the gun much feared by Allied soldiers during the Second World War. It was the German 88mm anti-aircraft gun, also used as an anti-tank gun. And this is the Model 37, which was the most effective development of this particular gun. This tells you something about the history of the gun and what it was capable of doing in action. It's interesting here that it says, during Operation Battle Axe, the 15th to 17th of June 1941, 1888s knocked out 75 British tanks. 62% of American soldiers considered that the 88 was the most dangerous weapon that they had to face. This is an interesting collection of German anti-tank guns. The one right at the top is the 37mm, then the very big one here is 75mm in the middle, and a 50mm anti-tank gun here. This is a Messersmith Bf 109F in much better condition than the one we saw earlier. The Spitfire F Mark 8. This is a First World War British SE-5 fighter plane. You can see the water-cooled machine gun up there, and this one has been opened up so you can actually see how it's constructed. That's where the pilot sat. You can see the cables and controls where his feet rested on the pedals. A Lewis gun mounted up there, which could be hand-fired and maneuvered by the pilot, and then a fixed Vickers machine gun there with the rather primitive sighting tube next to it, the pilot's cockpit. This is a de Havilland DH-9 built in 1917. It was a reconnaissance aircraft, not a very successful design because of its lack of power and performance. Suspended above us here, you can see a de Havilland Mosquito from the Second World War, probably one of the most famous of all bombers and fighter bombers that evolved during the Second World War. Pilot's access to the Mosquito, in a hurry I suppose, and that's the cockpit looking up through the emergency escape hatch. This is a .303 caliber Maxim machine gun. These were designed initially by Sir Hiram Maxim, and this one was used in the Anglo-Boer War. But the tripod it stands on was more frequently used with its successor, the Vickers Maxim. Mahatma Gandhi, who became the great Indian leader, was a stretcher bearer during the Anglo-Boer War in South Africa. By the time the Bambata Rebellion broke out in 1906, he achieved a promotion to a sergeant major, and this picture shows him with his group of stretcher bearers, Indian stretcher bearers. This is just some of the artillery display in this museum. These are partially undercover. This is a British 5.5-inch medium to heavy gun from the Second World War. This just shows us a very small example of the amount of stuff they've got in this museum. The famous Sherman tank, collapsible type canoe, warship models. This, as you can see, is a magnificent collection of small arms. And here are more. This huge 6-inch gun is a British weapon used in the First World War. Now I'm going to the outside area at the back. They have more aircraft, miniature submarines, marine warfare, torpedoes, mines, the ship gun turret, a Mirage jet fighter with its weapon pods, and an excellent collection of tanks and other armored fighting vehicles. This is the famous Russian T-34 battle tank, probably the most successful of all the tanks used in the Second World War.
We must be there.
This is the Johannesburg War Memorial outside the War Museum.